And now, from Glasgow.
So hello there, welcome to issue 3 of the Lancaster build. Now, normally I start the video off by doing a reaction video to the Hachette version. Before I do that, I just want a very quick chat about costings. Now, one of the problems I have with the costings is depending on where you are in the scale model world is based on what you're going to pay for items. So a basic example, 15 paints are needed to complete this build, of which I think I already own 10. So do I cost in 5 paints that I bought? Do I cost in 15? Do I take it exact? You know, if you use half a bottle of paint, do I cost in half a bottle of paint? Obviously now I've put in varnish, even though I don't need any. I've got tons of varnish. So I think I am going to keep it quite simple, but I have 5 items which I'm about to buy, which I need to add into the costings, which obviously is going to ram the price up. So I've divided them into 3 categories. 2 items I think are definitely worth having. 1 item you can debate, and 2 items you probably don't, but they're quite nice. So let me show you. So first of all, we have this Airscale photo etch and decal cockpit upgrade set. Now the reason I need to buy this is I've been watching Nigel's modelling bench, and I will agree that although the cockpit area is very nice, please don't get me wrong, when you look at the rest of the kit, you look at the scale of the kit and the quality of the kit, it actually falls really short, I believe. For the sake of £26.46, I think this is a lovely upgrade. I've seen Nigel's modelling bench build it. It looks absolutely wonderful. So that's, I think that is a must. The next thing is a mask set. Now I can do masking, use masking tape, cut it, blah blah blah. Masking sheets do make the job easier, but obviously they cost money. It's far easier to have make your own masks. Now the first thing about this is that it isn't going to fit properly. There's a extra little bulgy bit on one of the side windows, so that particular mask isn't going to fit properly. That isn't going to be a problem. What we'll do is we'll cut a little hole out of the masking sheet, and then we'll just where the hole is, we'll put masking tape. What's your limit on what you think is good value and not? Personally, I think £15.88 to save you about 4 hours of masking, cutting bits of masking tape. I think that's good value. These are some of the pictures of the masking sheets. So basically, as you can see, you place on the masking sheets, so when you paint them, that's what it'll look like painted. So you see, you can just paint over everything. Half an hour saved on the painting. And then when you remove the masking sheets, this is what you get left with. I'm assuming they picked red because it's a nice vibrant colour and you can see it easily, but oh, horrible. So yeah, that's the masking sheets. I personally think it's worth having. Now I am going to leave this picture up because I'm going to show you something else, not the next one. Right, so the third one, which is a little bit of a do you need it, do you not, I don't know. We have some metal landing gear. This will replace the landing gear that comes in the kit. One concern that I have is, judging purely on the weight of the box, this Lancaster is going to be quite heavy. So the question I have, I am going to be posing mine wheels down. Will the undercarriage hold up? I don't know from personal experience. So for the sake of £32.34, I personally think it's worth getting this undercarriage. It looks very nice. I can't show you any more pictures of it because they've only got the one picture. But I think it's probably worth getting. It's just going to add a little bit of strength. There may be other things I could do, like, you know, ways to strengthen the kit undercarriage. But, you know, is it worth spending the £32.34 and then you're safe? In my opinion, it is. Next up, this is probably a bit of a luxury. Look at the detail on this. This is, let me show you the title first. This is the set of 8 Browning .303 caliber for Hong Kong models. So this is replacement gun barrels. Now if it was internal details, I'd say no, that's fine. But these are going to be on show on the external part of the the Lancaster. So these will be on show. So little brass gun barrels, you look at those, it just adds that little touch of detail. Absolute pure luxury, you might say it's not worth having, and at £32.83 it might be a huge luxury. It's something that I'm going to buy, but you know, obviously if I buy it I'm going to have to add it into the costings. Do you think it's worth it? You know, it is a lot of money. And lastly, £12.47, we have these wheels. Penny, why are you buying wheels when the kit comes with the wheels? Well, so I've done a bit of research on this, and the kit wheels are very plain. Now, how realistic they are, I don't know. I initially thought that the wheels that came with the Hong Kong kit were treaded wheels. I found a forum post. It does turn out that they weren't treaded wheels. It's just that the modern wheels, obviously these have all been, I've forgotten the word for it, they've all been restored. Obviously it's 2024 now. If you were to go out and restore an actual Lancaster, you can't buy the tyres that came in 1940 odd. So obviously you get what you can. The original wheels apparently were smooth, so the kit is accurate. But what I like about these, let me go back to the picture I was going to show you. That's the kit wheel provided there. You see, it's very, very plain all over, smooth all over. Whereas these just got this little tread on the inside. And I like that. I think it just adds a little bit of detail. Is it realistic? I really can't tell you. Does it look nice? Yes, I think it does. If you're going to add Browning machine guns and you're going to add cockpit instrument panels, which you may not even see once it's finished, surely we should be adding this wheel. And the wheels cost £12.47. I think if you look at cost compared to how much it'll just lift the model, I think it's worth having. So I will be adding those to my basket, and I will be buying them. Now there is going to be a big gap between me filming this segment of the video and filming the next segments, but I'm telling you about these before I order them. But the next segment of the video I will already have them. So obviously because I've bought them, I'm going to have to put them into the spreadsheet and add the costs on, which will obviously bump the costs up. So yeah, but just be aware that they are optional. You don't even have to get this this instrument panel. I would suggest that people like Nigel's modelling bench, and myself included, would say that's a must-have. And for less than £27, how awesome is it? But you know, things like these Browning machine gun, this wheel, the Browning machine guns, I'd suggest you don't need them. So this is my shopping cart before I check out, and £119.98. I think there's going to be tax going on that. It says if your order is below £135, 20% VAT will be included in the amount you pay. You will not pay VAT again when the package arrives in the UK. If your order is over £135, VAT is not included, but you may be charged for it when the package arrives. This is actually from Super Hobby. I have used them before, and they're okay. And it's the reason I've chosen Super Hobby to get these from is simply because some of these are on back order as well. Now what's going to happen is the whole order will be held until all 5 items are in, and they won't come in until about the 1st of March. So in actual fact, as you're watching this video, I won't have received them. But yeah, so I'm going to be ordering those, and it's down to you really, guys, to decide if it's worth it for you. If you know, I won't hold it against you if you decided to not buy those. I would suggest that the photo etched cockpit set is a must. The masking tape, the masking sheets for £16, I would say yeah. I don't particularly enjoy doing masking, so for £15 to take 3-4 hours of stress away from me, I think that's well worth it. The undercarriage is it's a lot of money, £32, but I am just worried about the strength of the undercarriage. The Browning machine guns for £32, that's a big expense, and it is just a little touch of luxury. It's like adding a velvet pillow to your sofa, I think. And then the wheels, £12.47. They're not expensive, but it is £12.47. So guys, let's move on to the next segment. Let's watch Building with the Boys. So let's have a look at what they're doing over in Hachette land. Again, as always, big thank you for Building with the Boys, who's given me permission to react to his videos. Let's see what he's up to in issue 3.
If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get this one open and let's get this one built. So this is the kit that we got with part 3. We've got quite a lot in here.
So it looks like we've got a framework for the fuselage. We've got the bomb bay there by the looks of it, and we've got some canopy glass. Now over in the top right hand corner, can I see some modelling magnifying glasses, Scott? I thought only old people wore them, people like me. Well, it looks like you do too. Your secret is out.
This is heavy as well, so I'm assuming these are metal pieces. But before we even get to that, we need everything we had left over from part 2, because this is what we'll be working on first. So we're going to work on this first, and then we're going to open the pack and move on to that one.
So that's really good. So one of the worst things about part works that I find is you get given pieces and then you get told to hold on to them for ages. So obviously the cockpit's not a simple build. So they've got parts ready for the next issue, and it looks like he's going to be using them.
The other thing we did get, if you're a subscriber, you would have got our first proper gift. Well, our second proper gift will be the sign. We've got our very lovely wooden Lancaster bomber pens.
So subscribers do get a gift, and obviously they got a metal plaque last pack, but this pack they get a Lancaster pen. Now, if you are not a subscriber, there is hope. If you keep checking the Hachette website, usually towards the end of the build, sometimes they actually put the free gifts up for sale to order in the shop. Obviously you won't get them for free, but if they've got some left over, they'll put them up for sale, and more often than not I'd like to bet that these will come up for sale. So if you do want one of these Lancaster pens, then it should come up.
So get this one and take a look at it. It is a bit massive as pens go. I mean, it was working on first.
Okay, so I've just skipped a bit because obviously he's just talking about the pen. We're looking at what he's building.
So we've got the starboard front frame here, and we have the bomb aimer's controls. Now these are going to fit into here. We're going to make sure we get this the right way around. That's what I would imagine. Is that correct?
Okay, so basically what this bit is all about is just adding on little bits and bobs to the framework. Now the way that this is going to work, you'll notice with the Hong Kong models the framework is actually built into the fuselage, whereas with the Hachette version you get the framework and that will attach to an outer skin. All these little bits are just bits that I'm going to end up painting and adding at some point anyway. So yeah.
Nope, that's not correct. Let's get this one the right way. It's that way around. It's that way around.
I do apologise if you hear R2-D2 in the background. I have a little R2 on my desk and just every time he makes some noises, so I do apologise for that.
It's got a bit of a weird fit. It's the lug there. There we go. Aha. That makes it. Okay, that fits flushes. Yeah. So that's how we're going to be looking. So we're going to put a little touch of glue on the back of this one, and we're going to install that into there. So we get some glue. Look at that. Okay, so we've got a little touch of glue on the tab there.
So again, this is a super glue issue. I don't know what those parts are made of, but what I would be doing, if they're made of ABS plastic, I would probably be using either Plastic Magic, which I'm holding up. You probably can't see because the screen's too small. Tamiya also do some ABS glue. I would personally be looking at that if they are not metal. So obviously ABS glue won't work for metal.
I'm going to still that tab in place. I'm happy with the fit. I'm going to hold that in.
Now there was also some debate. I can't see the exact colour of that. Does that look dark green or does that look black? But I've seen somewhere, I think it was Nigel's modelling bench, who said that it's the wrong shade of green. It's not the colour that I'm going to be using, but yeah, it's something to note as well.
Is that, we're just going to let it dry. That's where it's going to go. We're going to let it dry. Okay, next thing to do is we've got a window to install. So, taking our metal piece that we had here, it's lovely, with rivets. That's gorgeous, and the paint job on this is lovely. We then have another one of these windows. I'm going to test fit this.
So again, I said it before, I don't like these windows. They've just got so much excess on them. Obviously the style of the build that we've got, you're going to need them. That's how you attach them. But it just looks a bit, I don't like it.
This, before we start messing with the glue and everything, but that's how that's going to fit. So in there like that. Now,
see, and also you've got that massive great big R on it. Now I hope you can't see that window from the inside when it's finished, but if you can, I think it's just one of those little things that's just going to spoil it.
that's already fairly firm. We will glue it. But I'm going to use the micro crystal clear to do it. So we get that ready, and we'll glue it like that. But there we are. Now it looks horrendous.
Right, so this is a really good example of, I personally won't use microcrystal clear. PVA is just as good at a fraction of the cost. But if you've never used PVA or any of these white glues, they are very, very scary. You put it on, it's white, and you're like, oh my God. But it does actually, it's a very good glue actually, but it does dry very clear. And if you only need a touch of it, but it will dry clear.
Horrendous. I promise you, it's going to dry clear.
Oh, there you go. He's explaining that as well. Also, I don't like that fuselage. Let's see if I can bring that back. There we go.
Horrendous. I promise you, it's going to dry clear. You can see this side anyway.
There we are. I don't like that. I think that's a little bit shiny. It's easy to fix. You can always go over it with a matte varnish, but Would it be that shiny? It's a night fighter. It's going to be you know, they painted black so that they can hide up in the skies at night. And obviously, if you shine a spotlight on that, it's just going to reflect back. So I think that's a little bit too shiny myself, personal opinion. But look at the rivet detail. That is actually really nice.
On the actual window itself, but that will dry clear. You're not going to see any of the white. The white residue is just to show that it's on there, but it will dry completely clear. So that's good. Now there is one piece. Now this is the one where it's like, I don't know about that. They want us to glue this to the outside here.
Now, watch the whole video from Building with the Boys. He does actually explain at the beginning. It's something that I've mentioned in, I think it was last week in the reaction video, maybe issue 1. They actually ask you to glue the pitot tube on, and Nigel's modelling bench brought this up as well. If you have something sticky out like that, it's going to be very, very easy to knock it over and knock it off, which obviously is a bit of a problem. Yeah, I mean, Scott, I did say I can't see a problem with Scott because I know he actually puts his pieces in, you know, he does store them very well. But now they're asking you to glue something else on, and you know, even Building with the Boys has gone, no, I'm not doing that.
I just don't think it's wise. I just don't, because I mean, even though, like I said, even though I keep mine safe, I think at some point we're going to have to start flipping this over and pushing it together and bolting it on, and I think this is such a flimsy little piece. I mean, look at it. It goes in there like so. You're supposed to do that in place.
I mean, look at it.
Constantly jetting like that.
Look at it. I mean, the pitot tube had a flat bit, but that, I mean, why are you asking us to glue something on like that in stage 3? You know, if you look at scale models, all these little hard to knock off pieces, they're all glued in at the very end. And the reason for that is that as you're working on it, you're going to have little bits that you can knock off. I'm just checking this, and I'm seeing where we'll be starting to glue things like that on. And I really hope they don't tell us too early, because having said all of that, no, I don't think they're asking us too early. I'll research that, because yeah, no, they're actually asking us these little hard to knock off bits. They're going to be glued in stage 69, which again I think is a little bit early, because it's before we're going to put the wings. But saying that, stage 69 out of 71 stages, it's a lot better than stage 3 out of 130.
I'm not doing it. I'm putting this in the box with the rest of it. And
there you go. If Building with the Boys isn't going to do it, you know, it's really not wise, is it?
I'm not doing it, because I think inevitably when we start doing things like that with this, and moving it around and trying to get it on stand and whatnot, that piece is just going to snap off. It's going to happen. So once this thing is eventually built and it's mounted to the frame, to the stand, then we'll apply that piece. But it makes no sense to me at all to do it now. I just think you're asking for trouble. I think that way madness lies. So that is the parts from part 2 complete. We are now moving on to all the new parts from part.
Right. So that's nice, because he's done quite a bit. Well, he's done a few little bits, and he hasn't even touched stage 3 so far. Now, the next bit, I'm just going to skip over. Basically, he hasn't actually done anything, but what he did do, he didn't record, and he just obviously explains that. So we'll go on to the windows.
That's that one finally in. I want to say finally, because that took me a good 10 minutes.
So that is stage 3. That's putting that glass. Now, that's such a tight fit. Now, I knew Scott would do it. I knew he'd do it. But I'm seeing on Facebook about where it's a little bit tight, and it's actually snapped the frame in a lot of cases. This is where I like mine, because I have this canopy. If you can't see it, don't worry, you'll see it at some point. And then obviously what we have to do is mask off the framework, cover up the bits that we're not going to be that we don't want painted, and we'll spray it, and it's going to look something like that. But what we don't have is framework that we put inside. Now, one thing Scott's not done, which he doesn't have to do because he's just following the instructions. Now, Nigel's modelling bench, I didn't quite get what he was saying, but it makes some sense. What he's done is all the grooves in the canopy, he's gone over it with a Sharpie, and then he's put the glass into the canopy, into the framework, and it just removes that toy look. Just gives it a bit of added realism. I don't quite, it's one of those things that I would do because I trust Nigel, but I wouldn't necessarily, I don't quite get why, unless I actually built two Lancasters myself, did one on one and didn't do it on the other. But you know, hopefully we're looking at a meet-up. It's something that I'm going to look at, unless I can get a look at someone's Lancaster in the meantime. I've lost my cursor now, so I can't play it. Where are we? There we go. Sorry, guys.
May the odds be ever in your favour when you come to doing this, because it takes a lot of patience.
So basically, he's taken 10 minutes to do that.
If you find yourself getting wound up, walk away from it, because you'll end up breaking one of those beams. That took a while, honestly.
Right.
Firstly, to observe the blister windows in the store. Now I can show you you can see the micro crystal clear there. It's not much.
So he's glued another window in, and he's used micro crystal. I only said Microsoft. Micro crystal clear. This is all the PVA glue, and those windows have gone in quite nicely.
Really as much, again, it's not load bearing. You don't need to hold any weight or anything. You just need a glue that will hold it.
The only thing I'd be worried about on that is obviously that window is glued in from the inside going out, and there is a bulge on it. If you should put too much pressure on that when the model's complete, you're going to push that window in. So I'd like to know how you can access the inside, just in case.
Without stealing up windows. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take the Astrodome. And the Astrodome is just going to screw into place, which is that's a good thing.
And I think the rest of the build is just screwdriver build. Nice, but it's a screwdriver build.
Here, this is going to screw into place with a single BP screw.
I think maybe I'll start playing this in 2 times.
Take that down. Actually pop that one in just in there like so. And take the single BP screw into the slot here.
What do you think, guys? Should I put it on double speed?
Very bizarre. But,
Yeah.
all that pulling swings in a couple of minutes, we just threw it in. Seems really weird, but that's what we chose to do. That's what we'll do.
There we go. So that's nice.
Lovely stuff.
No issues with that.
Really nice. Okay, we have one more piece to do. We have to insert a piece to the front section here. So turn this one over and take the upper fuselage nose, which is this piece here.
And then we're going to put a piece of the fuselage on. Now this is how the fuselage is going to go. Obviously with a scale model you get your fuselage in 1, or in my case 2 pieces. With Partworks you're going to get it in multiple pieces. Now I don't know if you can see my cursor. Where his thumb is, that's where he's going to put the fuselage on. If you look just above his other thumb, you can see another screw hole. That's where the next piece is going to go in. We've also got a couple of holes there, so something's obviously going to go in there. But yeah, it's just simply screw it on, and he ends up with a nice piece of part work. So we get the floor as well, which apparently is a really nice piece of floor. And combining this with Nigel's modelling bench, you know, one suggestion Nigel said is that maybe we can buy some Hachette pieces and use it to where it's lacking on the Hong Kong models version. we can just get some Hachette pieces. I'm not going to do that, but it's something to consider.
Yeah. What about that? You get the idea. So it's looking lovely, and the colour on this is absolutely beautiful. It really is. It's looking good already. Yeah, it's looking really nice. Excited for this one. This is going to be a beautiful thing. This is done. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's that one done. I mean, right. So it's down to work. But I think that's just the way this.
Right. So in this bit, I did want to show this. This is not normally the part I show. But look, right. That's issue 3. That's 3 stages in. We know we've got like a propeller as well, which we know we'll put in the drawer and it'll be sat there for ages. But actually, for 3 stages, that's not too bad, is it? So far, he's spent £20, and that's what he's got for his £20. Now, one of the things about part works, I've kind of accidentally brought it up there. Sometimes people look at each issue and they go, oh, that's what I get for my money. You should never look at a part work like that. You've got to look at a whole build. There will be, I call them slow issues. Sometimes you get issues where you don't do much. But what you tend to find with the part works is, or the part work builders, there's different elements that will appeal to different people. Some people like to build a lot. Some people like to get mass. Some people just like the electronics. So far, I think there's been a little bit for everybody. Personally, I like the technical bits. I'm quite happy to build up something that big, but it's taken me an hour to work on it. Some people, you know, when you get to the wing, you might get a hunking great big lump, put in 2 or 3 screws, and it's done. Some people are happy with that. Some people, you can give them a light bulb and they'll sit in the corner testing it all day long and they're really happy. But that, I don't think you can complain at that. For the stage that we're at, I think that's actually quite a good little build. There's enough to keep you interested and enough to keep, you know, wanting a little bit more. So I don't think there's much else. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's it. So again, thank you for Scott for allowing me to react to his videos. That way we know what we're doing as a comparison. It looks like we are actually we're on a little bit of a par with Hachette. Let me switch this to big front camera view. So it looks like we are fairly on a par. Hachette are working on the cockpit or the front of the plane. I'm working on the front of the plane. So we're kind of in similar areas. So yeah, right, okay. So let's get on with the next bit. So guys, what have I been up to in the last week? To be absolutely honest with you, not a lot. I still have my pilot seat to finish, and I will confess I am dragging this out slightly. The reason for that is earlier in the video, excuse me, earlier in the video I was explaining about some aftermarket parts. Now, I'm ordering as well, and I will introduce these as they're appropriate. I was ordering some lights and motor kit from Magic Modelling Moments. Unfortunately, it hasn't arrived at the time of filming, and I don't know what parts are affected. With all the aftermarket parts, I'm a little bit worried about going forward in case I have to do modifications to them. So you've got like navigator and engineer and bits, and then obviously you've got the instrument panel. So I'm kind of dragging this pilot seat out a little bit, but something else has cropped up. Excuse me. They say that this platform is too high. I was watching Nigel's modelling bench, and you see I've popped a little note on it. 17mm, it should be 11. So we need to remove 6mm. Now this is going to go in here. I've done a very, very quick rough dry fit. So with the cockpit, the canopy on, it's going to look something like that, which doesn't look too high, doesn't look obscene. So obviously you've got to ask yourself the question, is it worth doing? Now you'd think 6mm isn't really much, but if you multiply 6mm, bear with me a sec, echo, what's 6mm times 32?
6mm times 32 is 19.2 centimetres.
So it's actually going to make a difference in real life of about 20 centimetres. Now let's get my ruler out. 20 centimetres is this much. Now again, that's now starting to look quite a lot. Now if you do a comparison between this and looking where the seat is in relation to the glass, and I'm just going to bring a picture up that I found on the internet, you can see the difference. There is quite a difference. So the only way to do this is to chop some of this platform off. I'll do the comparison again. In fact, let's see if I can do some fancy editing. There we go. So you can see there is a difference, and there is a difference. If you kind of work this out to scale, it probably is about 20 centimeters difference. So it's an optional thing. Let me get rid of that image. It is purely optional, and I don't think it's going to look horrible if we don't do any adjustments. I just think it's going to look a little bit better. Now, how we do this, I have discussed with Nigel. This actually has a bit of a bend on it, and that's to go round the fuselage. Now, obviously, if we take this off to in the wrong place, it may not fit flush against that anymore. Now, what I've been advised is if we chop it there flush with the floor, we're going to end up with a hole. I don't see how, and I think that might be the best way. Nigel is advising to chop it higher up, get a straight parallel line, but then you're going to end up chopping it on the actual bend. Once we've done all of that, obviously this is going to be this bit across there is going to be 6mm different, so that's going to have to be ground away, all of this square there, and we're going to have to redo some of this this framework. So I'm going to have to be using plastic cards. So that's going to be a little bit of a big job. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to attach this to the platform O. This is the bomb bay, and I will say it is quite bad. Let me get a zoom in. That is sink mark heaven. Look at all those sink marks. They'd all have to be removed if we were doing Bombay open. Thankfully, we've been redeemed because we're doing the Dambusters, so the Bombay doors will be closed. So what I'm going to do in this episode, I'm kind of telling you what I'm doing in the next few episodes. Two concerns I have is obviously this bit that I've just mentioned, and then once we place this in, we've got this very ugly piece in the wing. Now, I've had a look at it. It's actually higher at the top than it is at the bottom, but the plastic card that I own, it's actually, we'll get away with doing plastic card. At the bottom, it's about the thickness of the plastic card, and at the top, it's about twice the thickness of the plastic card. So I think what I'm going to have to do is place a little strip along there and then place the plastic card on. Now, I've had a little go using paper templates to try and get this shape, and it's just not going to happen. So I'm going to have to probably cut sections, and then if there's any gaps, I'll fill them in. Another thing I've got to do is I've got to drill some holes in here for the wing, for the motors. So that's going to be a bit of a job. So in order to actually make something today, I can't remember, because obviously I'm doing this in bits and bobs. I only want to explain procedures once. So Obviously when I next do some painting, I want to explain how I do the primer and how I paint, and then in future episodes all I need to do is say I primed and painted this, but I do want to explain everything first. So one thing that I don't know if I am actually now keeping a little book, and it's going to have all my notes on it, and then this is the first 4 videos. So I'm going to write into them exactly what I've gone through. So look, stage -1, waffle, talk about project. Stage 0, mega unboxing. Pilot seat, paint pilot seat. I can't even read my handwriting. Not recorded. Footage not recorded, redo. So that tells me I need to redo. And then, so obviously I write in the book, I've explained. So what I'm actually going to go through today is what we call cleanup. So this is piece sprue O, piece number 1, and in order to put this onto here, we need to cut it off and we need to clean up. Now this is actually stage, let me check, this is actually part of stage 9. You see there I've got 01 going on to the bottom. I've had a little look. I think we can build that and then we can still do all the rest around it, because I'm not 100% sure how we're going to do things. I really don't know. So this is how we clean up. So we take our side trimmers, side cutters. Some of you may prefer to do knives. Now what I like to do with a piece this big, I like to cut the sprue quite long. And that does 2 things. One, apparently it creates less stress on the part, so it's not going to rip off. And secondly, for me, sometimes when I'm cleaning up, if I leave a very small nub, I actually miss it and I end up not cleaning it. So I could actually end up with a little tiny nub there, and when I come to fit it, it doesn't fit properly. By cutting these little nubs very long, it actually means that I'm not going to miss them. Look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what we need to clean up with is some sandpaper, which I don't have, sanding sticks, emery boards, whatever you use. And I'll explain the way that I clean up, and then you can then work things from there. Do you know what? I had lost my trimmers, my side cutters, and I bought another pair, and I've just discovered I've found the other one, so I've got 2 pairs now. Right, so you will need side cutters. You will need a knife, which I cannot find mine at the moment. It will turn up. Here we go. Any knife will do, but make sure the blade is sharp. I normally have a little scalpel knife, but I seem to have mislaid it, so I will be buying another one. You need some kind of sanding stick, and one other tool that sometimes comes in useful. This is called a seam line remover. It's a flat blunt blade, and what we do with it, if I just use this, if you had a little seam line there, which there is actually one, you can just scrape it, and that's what its primary is. You see, it's just taken a little shaving off. So if you just have that little line, it just smooths it out. But I find it's quite useful for removing tiny nubs. Now we get our side cutters, and flat side down we're going to place that against the part that we want to keep neat, push it down, and we're going to trim. Now if you've got if you've got the best trimmers in the world, that's probably all you're going to need to do. Mine are almost the best, so I do leave a little tiny mark. Now if it's quite big, we can carefully cut that with a knife. In this instance I don't need to. The next stage is we just get a sander, sanding stick, sandpaper, whatever you want to use, and we just file that down a little bit. Now I'm using a 240 grit, and the reason I'm using 240 grit is because that's all I can find. But saying that, I've just found another one. There we go. This will be a much better one. This is 400. Now with sandpaper, the higher the number, the smoother it is. So with a 240, you'd be able to, if you wanted to take this all the way down, let's say you want to sand, there we go. If you want to take a couple of millimeters off there, use something like a 240 and it'll do it twice as quick as well, it might not do it twice as quick, but it'll do a lot quicker than 400. But because it's so coarse, it will leave scratch marks. So when you're almost there, you then take your 400 and then that will just start to smooth them out. And then you'll take maybe an 800. In fact, as I'm saying this, I'm finding it's another 240. So you keep going, what we call going through the grits or going through the sanding stages. And then you'll end up, if you use something like a 2000, it will actually come out really smooth. I've used some sanding sticks in the past. There we go, there's one. Oh, that's a very rough 180. I've used them before where they've been such a high grit that it's actually come out shinier than the original plastic. But yes, so that's what we do. And then what we end up is we end up with a surface there. We would never know there was a sprue nub. So I'm going to just go through these again, but I'm going to speed the footage up. Okay, so that's my cleanup complete on that part. I'm going to remove this now because that was just an indication of what the part was. So that's the cleanup complete. Now you'll see me using my finger an awful lot. If you want to check for smoothness, I personally think the best tool we own is our finger. Just run our finger along there, and if we feel for any bits that stick out, in fact, this bit, it feels like it's not quite straight. But I'm going to go with it because I'm going to teach you what I call a dry fit. One of the expressions I've been taught a lot is dry fit, dry fit, dry fit. The reason we say it 3 times is because it's so important. So this piece goes on here. Like somehow. There we go. So we've got, this is quite good because it's got little locating pegs, so it makes it nice and easy for us. Now that should be, there we go. Now I'm not going to glue this because I just really want this just to help me with the dry fit of the passenger area, of the pilot area. This isn't wanting to go in. It will fit, but it seems that when you put one side in, it pushes the other side out. Right, so that platform is in, and then I can now fit it. Because we've got this bit as well, it's going to fit so much better because there's a couple of locating tabs on there which will help it fit to the fuselage. Now this then kind of helps me with the next query that I have. I've said about this wing, this fuselage being quite ugly. Now I can see that all of this is it's definitely gonna hide up that piece. So do we need to fill this in? This is my question. So I'm looking at what we're building next, and there's going to be a bench going behind here, and then there's going to be lots of things. I actually think we may get away with it. So I'm going to leave the wing. I'm going to leave the wing for now. So one thing we will need to do is we're going to have to glue these together, the nose and the main body, and that looks, it's quite a nice fit, to be honest with you, because you've got this piece goes over the the nose, but you've got a couple of tabs that goes over the body, so you kind of bring it in at an angle and then bring it in. So that is actually okay. I wonder, because we will be gluing this together in stage 18. However, there's an amendment. If I remember that I told you before, we have a supplementary booklet which deals only with that's interesting. So 18, updated diagram shows the new parts added, holes drilled and apertures cut out. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we probably want to leave this before gluing it on, so I might do that in order. Right, so guys, I apologize that I've not actually done much. I promise you we'll do some painting and some prep. I think what I'm going to do is, now that we've dry fitted this, I don't think we're going to need, I think I'm just going to cover this piece. And I'm not going to worry about this piece too much. So hopefully in the next video I'll be able to well, I won't be able to show you the lights because they're on their way. So yeah, it's just the problem, it's waiting for parts which may affect the build. So I think in the next issue, actually I know exactly what we're going to do in the next issue. So yeah, so basically this issue is all about problems. So in the next issue, I think we're going to finish this pilot seat. We're going to look at cutting this off. I may not be able to do it in the next issue. It depends if I get this. I'm waiting for some parts, for some tools. But I've got a nice little surprise for you regarding this pilot seat. So guys, I'm going to leave it there. The next one other thing I'm going to explain is I've shown you how to do cleanup. There's an awful lot of cleanup. You can see all of this cleanup that needs doing. Now that I've explained how to do cleanup, I think I can get on with this and clean it up. I don't need to show you what I'm doing. Okay guys, so I hope that that didn't put you off too much. And I hope that you will be sticking around for next week's issue. When we will be doing a bit more work. So guys, take care and I'll see you next week. Okay guys, so before I go, I will go through the costings. Now we have just done issue 2, issue 3, so you can see there 8th of March is the release date, not the date of the video. So Hachette have given us cockpit floor and canopy, and the issue, it's the first full priced issue, £10.99. Now I've actually done that incorrectly. I'll explain why in another video. I've not actually bought anything this issue, so that's obviously helped the costs. Now Hachette so far has cost £19.97. Obviously our costs on the Hong Kong remain the same at £397.89, so that gives us a deficit so far of £377. I do apologise about the future costs. This is because the way I've the spreadsheet set up, I like to do negative numbers in red, so I need to do some ratings, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't too excited about the Hachette, so I'm going to give it a 1. And I'm actually not going to give anything to Hong Kong. I'm going to be fair there. There was nothing in this particular video that is astonishing. I haven't done a lot and I haven't been able to show you anything awesome. But obviously the pilots area is a bit of a problem. But as I say, I don't think the Hachette is that exciting either. Again, maybe that's because it's still building the cockpit up. The reason I gave it a point is mainly on the basis that we have we've been collecting a few parts, and there's lots of little fiddly parts that they've said, yep, pop that aside, we'll deal with that later. Now, I hate having lots of little parts flying around everywhere, but this issue we are starting to put together some of those parts that we've collected, so that's a little plus point for Hachette. So next issue, but I can't remember what Hachette. So the next issue for Hachette, they're going to be doing the cockpit details, the seat platform and framing, fuselage canopy and cockpit floor. Sounds exciting. And I'm going to be, well, I've got their filling hole in fuselage, but I'm actually not. I'm going to be finishing off the pilot seat, and if I'm able to get round it, I'm going to chop back that floor, and then we'll see what else we can do. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's my video for this week. I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.